On the hunt for comfortable, timeless Western boots? You already know the best place to shop for quality boots is at your local Tacova store. So stop by Tacova's Nashville, at the Mall at Green Hills, or on Broadway by Ryman Auditorium. That's right, you now have 2 locations to choose from. Grab a cold one as you shop and get fitted by a pro. Tacova's Nashville is at your service, and you can find your perfectly fitted dream boots with the help of their expert staff. Everyone will be asking where you got your sick new boots, but I won't be asking because I know they must be Tacovas. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all.
Today on CityCast Nashville, it's the first day of early voting, and we're talking with homegrown political operative TJ Ducklo, a Nashville native who you might remember as the chief communications officer for former Mayor John Cooper. He worked on both Biden presidential campaigns and had a front row seat this summer as the president passed the campaign torch to Vice President Kamala Harris. Now he's the chief strategist for a new political action committee called Democracy Defenders. We're going to find out why that's important, what he says a Harris-Walz victory would mean for us here in Middle Tennessee, and get his advice for young folks hoping to follow his career path into politics. And hey, stick around after the interview for our special segment, A Mile in Their Boots, spotlighting people who shape the culture and community of Nashville. Today, we'll be going inside a day in the life of Brandon Crofton, a pothole patch specialist with the Nashville Department of Transportation. It's all brought to you by our exclusive launch sponsor, Tacovas. It's Wednesday, October 16th. I'm your executive producer, Whitney Pasterek, and this is what Nashville's talking about. TJ, we miss you here in Nashville. Where are you these days?
I miss you guys. I've been in Wilmington, Delaware for well over a year, I guess, since August 2023, working for, the president's reelection campaign. I helped launch the president's reelection campaign in April 23. And then obviously, have worked on it until July when we very quickly turned it into Kamala Harris's campaign.
Some stuff happened.
Yeah, I fast forwarded through a lot of stuff in between there. For the final stretch, I'm actually working on what is called the Democracy Defenders PAC, which is a PAC we started with Jim Messina, Norm Eisen, a number of folks who are focused solely on election integrity and making sure that every single vote counts. We're not a super PAC, so we can talk to the campaign and to the state parties, working directly with state parties on the ground, providing legal support, providing comm support. We've got to make sure when you've got a candidate like Donald Trump, who is already saying he's not going to accept the election results if he loses, who's already laying the groundwork. And we can talk about this a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into all of that, but I do want to rewind because I do think you skipped over some meat that folks might want to hear about.
Let's talk about it.
Can you give us an insider's perspective on what that roller coaster was from the debate through Biden's decision to step back and endorse Kamala? I would be really curious to know what it felt like on the inside for those candidates and maybe for Democratic Party leaders as a whole.
Look, I think the takeaway really should be the sign of a healthy political party is one that can work together to make decisions and get to the right decision. I have worked for President Biden since the very first day of his first presidential campaign on April 25th, 2019. He is always someone who cares deeply about the right thing for the country. And that is the only thing I've ever seen him care about when making any decision. He got back into politics in 2019 because he truly believed he was the strongest candidate to beat Donald Trump. And he did by 7 million votes. And, I think when it became clear to him that the vice president might be in a better position to be the person to take the mantle and go take on Trump, he gave her the mantle. And, that selfless decision is exactly why I think he will, or one of the main reasons why I think he will go down as one of the best and most consequential presidents of our lifetime. And as people who are loyal to him and very much want to beat Donald Trump, we took our cues from him and we turned on a dime and we got behind the vice president. His campaign became her campaign in a matter of minutes. We all ran to the office and, you saw the kind of incredible 24, 48 hours we had.
Her social media has from the jump been delightfully salty. Her campaign's social media. I'm wondering how much of that was influenced by you. You were very famous while here in Nashville for your salty tweets.
I don't know what you mean. You know, I'd like to say we were that salty on the Biden campaign. Also, it started to get a little more attention as the vice president sort of gained a little momentum. We have an incredible team that runs what was Biden HQ, which is now Kamala HQ, and they are all under the age of like 26. And so, like, I am far too old to be good at or know what is going to do well on the internet.
All right. But as an old person now, how old are you? What are you, like 35?
36.
36. Oh my gosh. You've been put out to pasture now on this Democracy Defenders Political Action Committee. That's what PAC stands for. You explained it a little bit at the beginning, but why do y'all believe that this is necessary?
After Donald Trump lost 4 years ago, he said that he didn't. And, you know, it took 62 court cases, you know, between the moment that the race was called for Joe Biden and Inauguration Day. And to this day, Donald Trump won't admit that he lost that election. And they have been laying the groundwork to not accept the results again. And so it is unfortunate that we have to exist. But it is necessary in 2024 to sort of be with a number of groups who have been in this space, this kind of democracy space, working alongside the campaign that has a really robust, probably the most robust ever voter protection program.
So what is a voter protection program? You've got lawyers, I would assume. Is it poll watchers as well?
It's sort of a combination of things. It's making sure that we've got lawyers in place in every battleground state because, you know, the attacks on the election system can come in many forms, right? Like there are challenges to mail ballots. You know, there's voter intimidation that could happen at election sites. There are, you know, some of these MAGA officials in states are threatening not to certify election results that they don't like. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of planning that needs to be done on the legal front, but also on the comms front to counter what's happening now. I mean, there are frivolous suits even now in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Arizona, trying to throw voters off the voter rolls, you know, weeks before an election, trying to impose these like ridiculous requirements on mail-in ballots and making it easier to throw out people's votes. You know, Republicans know the more people vote, the less likely it is that they will win. And they will disenfranchise millions of people, taking away their fundamental right to vote if it means they can win an election. And that is unacceptable. And it means that we have to fight back. And so that is really what we're focused on.
Right. We saw some funny business here in Tennessee this summer when state election officials sent letters to over 14,000 primarily Black and brown voters, asking them to provide proof of citizenship in what felt to many like a threat. And it's unfortunate because you would think that the one thing that should be nonpartisan is voter access. So we are a nonpartisan podcast, but I do want to give you the opportunity to discuss why you think the Harris-Walz ticket is the right choice for Middle Tennessee voters.
What you are seeing in this election is one ticket, the Harris-Walz ticket, that is focused on the future, that is focused on making people's lives better, and the Trump-Vance ticket that is trying to take us backwards. Let's just take the economy, for example, because that is what a lot of people at home are worried about, rightly so. That is what drives a lot of our conversation. Kamala Harris has laid out an economic plan that would address the concerns that I know many listeners have in their everyday lives in three pillars. The first one being lowering cost of things like housing and groceries, the stuff that like actually impacts people's lives. Number two is making sure that we are investing in entrepreneurs and innovation. That's where her new tax credit, taking from $5,000 to $50,000, the tax credit you get for starting a new business. And then the third one is making sure that we lead the world in industry. Donald Trump, when he was president, lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris added 850,000. We want to make sure the future is made not in China, but in America. And that is a huge piece of her economic plan. I think this election will come down to a very simple question, which is who is running for you and your family, and who is running for themselves.
In a state like Tennessee, though, where we are controlled by a Republican supermajority, and it kind of doesn't matter because whatever they say goes, why does voting in a presidential election matter at all?
Voting is your is how your voice is heard. Voting is your fundamental right. I mean, there is no more important thing you can do as a citizen of the United States than to go and vote for your leaders. Go make your voice heard, regardless of whether you think what will happen in Tennessee or not. It is so important to vote, and it's so important to make a plan to vote. Early voting is open now, and go to iwillvote.com and make a plan, because making a plan is the first step. And once you've done that, you can sort of execute on your plan.
TJ, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about where you come from. We're back with TJ Ducklo. He's the chief strategist for Democracy Defenders. He used to be the head of communications for Mayor John Cooper, and we're going to get into that, but we're going to go all the way back first. TJ, you're a hometown guy. Tell us what you remember growing up in Nashville and what made you want to go into politics.
Oh my gosh, I went to University School of Nashville. Loved it, and my parents, of course, are still in Nashville. I'm there all the time. What made me want to go into politics? It was unlike most people who get involved. Most of my friends now who are work in politics professionally, who get involved sort of in local elections, and were Obama volunteers when they were 14 or 15. I really wasn't. I was involved in student government when I was at USN, and loved it. And loved it because I felt like it was, us being the students being able to like take control of our own lives a little bit and make decisions and make our voices heard. And I think that's really what I ended up going to college in DC, and then sort of really didn't get into politics until later in my career. I worked in media for a number of years. That kind of idea of running for something, of representing a group of people and making sure that group of people's voice is heard and that we are advancing our agenda. That was sort of my beginnings at USN when I ran for student body president. So I would give credit to that.
And as you mentioned, then you went through some media stuff. You were at NBC, I think, for a while. And then you ended up on the Biden campaign starting day one. What was that like? I mean, I know that's a very simplistic question, but you must have woken up and been like, holy crap, I'm working on a presidential campaign.
So I worked at NBC News for Lester Holt and Nightly News and a lot of our coverage in New York. And I knew that I was going to go work for Joe Biden's campaign a couple of weeks before he announced he was running for president, but I couldn't tell anybody because I worked at a news organization. And so I walked into my boss's office on a Wednesday at like 4:00 and was like, hey, I'm leaving. And I had like prepared a memo with all the stuff that I've been working on and sort of had been like quietly setting the stage. I'm like, hi, I'm really sorry. I'm leaving. I love you guys, but I'm going to go work, between us, I'm going to go work on Joe Biden's campaign. He's like, well, what are you going? I'm like right now. I'm leaving right now. I walked out of I walked out of 30 Rock at like 4:15 on a Wednesday. I got on a train to DC. I got to DC by 7 or 8 p.m. Then I woke up at 5 a.m. I went to a WeWork over on 14th Street. I walked in and there were 20 people all in one small WeWork sitting on the floor with their laptops. And at 6 a.m., our video went live. And Joe Biden said that he was running to restore the soul of the nation. And that was April 25th, 2019. And then, the rest was history.
And you did get the chance to follow him into the White House and experience what that's like, just like the West Wing, I'm assuming?
Less talking in hallways, more just being in your office, on your computer.
And then I'm going to let you answer this question how you would like to. You then transitioned out of the Biden White House and wound up back here in Nashville. What happened?
I've talked about this many times. People make mistakes in their lives, and I made a big one and had a conversation that was, that I shouldn't have had with a reporter who was reporting on my personal life. And I've since, had many conversations with her, and we've, we're still in touch. And it was a dumb sort of immature thing to do, but I left the White House because wanted to make sure that the attention was on the president and his agenda, and did not want to be a distraction, and needed to go. Lived in New York for a while and worked for the best crisis communications professional in America, Risa Heller, and learned a lot and got to do some really cool stuff. And then came to Nashville to work for Mayor Cooper, which was also an incredible experience, getting to do sort of the local government. When we talk about politics at a national level, it's often very sort of macro and theoretical. When you do politics at a local level, we are talking about raising teacher pay. We are talking about adding fire trucks and ambulances and making sure that we have an $18.50 minimum wage across Metro. Like, that stuff is as tangible as it gets. And you get to meet the people whose lives it affects. And like, it is very cool. I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to someone about this the other day. I, of course, wish that I had not done what I did. And I wish that I was sort of part of that beginning stage of the Biden administration. But I am extremely grateful for getting to work with Risa in New York. I'm extremely grateful for getting to come home and have that experience, because I feel like it has made me more well-rounded. It has made me appreciate and learn more about politics. Politics at the local level is like very relationship driven. Mayor Cooper had this joke where he says, you get elected mayor and everyone's like, oh, and he's like, everywhere you go, everyone's like, oh my God, it's the mayor. Hey, it's the mayor. And he's like, and that lasts like a couple of weeks. And then, you're in the job for a month, and then every single thing that is wrong with the world is your fault. Then it's like, why isn't this pothole filled? Why isn't this sidewalk complete that they've been working on for 3? It's like, he's like, and it shifts and you're like, well, when did that happen? But that's real, because like, when you are working for the local government, it's all of the little things that, that make the city run and that impact people's lives and that people care about. That's what you're working on. So like, yeah, it is a lot, but it is also very fun, because you get to see the impact of your work.
Do you regret at all tweeting "tough night for the loudest voices in the room" the night that the stadium deal passed?
I do not. I only regret that people didn't understand the place of levity it was coming from.
And I appreciate your honesty about all of that. If kids or young adults in Nashville are thinking about following a similar path, what advice would you give to them?
For young people, the best advice, and this is like decidedly what I did not do, but like, I think it is the best advice if you want to be involved in politics, is like, when you graduate from college, or even when you were in college, go work on a campaign. And don't work on a campaign in Washington. Go out into America and work on a campaign, because there is so much work to be done on a campaign, and there is always more work to do, and you will get a lot of responsibility very fast, because it's just like overwhelming. The incoming is insane. And if you are someone who is a self-starter and is proactive and wants to work and is like really hungry to sort of get involved, get out there, because campaigns love those kinds of people, because you never finish your work on a campaign. You just decide to stop working for the day, So like, when you have someone that is eager and that wants to learn and that wants to like get involved and mix it, like that is the best thing that as a, because I'm old, I guess I can
You're
say
old.
veteran.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, I've done two presidential campaigns now. Like that is the attitude to have when you come into a campaign, is like, what else can I do? What else can I take on? And then people will notice that drive and that talent. And the other thing I would say is, as a communications professional, focus on writing. Focus on writing in high school. Focus on writing in college.
Absolutely.
Being a good writer is so important and can get you so far. In what you're doing, Whitney, and what I'm doing, and on the journalism side, on the comms side, just knowing how to communicate in writing in a compelling way is just so valuable.
That's amazing advice, especially about the writing. But obviously, people can get ahead with TikTok these days, too, as the Kamala Harris campaign is proving. But to your point about volunteering, if people want to volunteer with Democracy Defenders, is that something that they can do?
Yeah. Email me, tj@statedemocracydefenders.org, or go on the campaign's website. Go to kamalaharris.com and fill out the volunteer form, because we're doing important work in our organization, but what we need is folks out there on the ground, knocking doors, making calls, doing the hard organizing work. That could be the difference between winning and losing. So don't come volunteer with me. Go volunteer at the campaign. Go knock doors in the battleground state, and let's bring this home for the vice president.
Fantastic. And regardless of how our listeners vote, I just want to encourage them to get out there and do so. It's so important. TJ, I so appreciate you giving us so much time. You must be busy. We're only a couple weeks out from the election. Thank you for everything you're doing to protect democracy, and let us know when you come home.
For sure. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Hey, don't go anywhere. In just a second, I'll be walking a mile in the boots of Brandon Crofton, a pothole patch specialist for NDOT, sponsored by Tecovas. Hey y'all, it's CityCast Nashville executive producer Whitney Pasterek, and I'm here with Brandon Crofton, a pothole patch specialist with NDOT, the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure. Brandon, how's it going? Thank you so much for being here.
It's going great. Thank you for having me.
We're so thrilled to get to talk to someone who I consider to be a real hero in this town, because I know the number of times that I've had to visit a tire shop since moving to Nashville, and I would like it to be less. I would like to visit them less. So can you tell everybody what it is that you do?
Oh, yeah. So people put in requests through Nashville Hub. Okay. So once they get in, they send every work order over to us. We have a crew. We go out, we take hot asphalt mix, basically fill the hole in, make sure that everything is secure, flattened out for a smooth ride so everybody has a safe commute to work.
How did you get into this line of work? What drew you to it?
Well, growing up, I've always just had this thing of just fixing everything. Just knowing the satisfaction of like having something done and like looks nice. When this job opportunity opened up, I'm like, okay, I can see myself doing this. So it's just the satisfaction of making things safe for everybody and, you know, making the roadways look nicer.
I think the satisfying part is something that I would really enjoy. This idea that you walk into a situation where it's a giant pit and you get to make it flat. Talk about the steps that you go through to fill an actual pothole. Do you put gravel in? How does that work?
Honestly, fairly simple. We have a big patch truck. Okay. It has basically an auger that augers out what we call is hot mix. It's basically the same stuff that you see out on the roads. Now it's just, we just use shovels and shovel it into the pothole. And we have these things called lutes. It's just a flat, like rake type deal. And we smooth it out, and then we tamp everything into the hole so it is secure. Nothing pops back out. When you drive over it, nothing pops out. Nothing sticks to your tire. It's a smooth ride.
So let's walk a mile in your boots. Describe for me an average day in your life. What do? You get up. What happens?
Get out. We come in, we have roll call. As soon as roll call is over with, we're here. We're out going to the plant and getting loaded up with mix. Then we cycle through all the work orders that we have, and we try to put everything in order to where we can get as much done as we can. So saying that is we start out and kind of work our way into the closest roads to the work orders we have so we can get everything done in a timely manner. Once we do that, we're loaded up with mix. We're out making the roadway safe. At the end of the day, once we get these work orders completed, we find somewhere and get the truck cleaned out, and we get to go home to our families.
When you drive around and see poorly filled potholes, whether it's from a construction company or possibly on a state road, what is your feeling about that?
To be honest with you, yes, I see that a lot more than we should. And when that happens, sometimes when I have extra time, I mark it in my notebook and we go back and we try to make that as safe as we can.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. You really are a hero. And for the listeners out there, just so you know, if you ever do see a giant pothole, you need to check to make sure if it's on a state road or not. Is that true? Because Brandon, you and your team can't do anything about the state-owned roads. You can only work on metro roads?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So if y'all see a pothole out there that hasn't been filled in forever, don't blame it on Brandon. It is not his fault. CityCast Nashville is not just about news, but it's also about culture and great recommendations here in Nashville. So when you do wrap up at the end of the day, where do you like to relax and have fun?
Relaxing, that's I don't get much of that because my little girl, she plays travel softball, and it's literally something almost every day that we have, you know, taking her to, you know, lessons one day and practices the next. But when we're not doing that, I mean, I love taking her fishing. She loves to fish. I mean, she's only 8, going on 20 something. But but yeah, that's basically it.
Where do y'all go to fish?
I actually live probably about maybe 5 minutes from Shoots Branch Recreation. So that's probably just our number one spot, just somewhere close by, and she can have a blast.
Amazing. Okay, this was great. Brandon, thank you so much for being here. If y'all have a pothole that needs filling, visit Hub Nashville to make a report. Maybe you'll see Brandon and his colleagues on your block soon. We'll have that link to Hub Nashville in our show notes for you, so you'll be just a click away. Thank you so much, Brandon, and thanks for listening, everybody.
And thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. Hey, early voting is open at all locations. Go vote. And if you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Y'all take care of each other.